When aliens kidnap a girl from Metropolis, how far across the universe will Superman go to bring her home even though her name is not Lois Lane? Evidently, quite far. I don't have an exact number for you, but if I were to make an educated guess, he probably traveled more than 52 kilometers. This is the story of Superman Up in the Sky by Tom King. The world's greatest detective is on the verge of vitamin D deficiency, which is the perfect excuse to make a rare daytime appearance to inform Superman of a violent home invasion. Aside from PTSD, all the girl remembers is a scary spaceman taking her sister Alice up in the sky. And Green Lantern confirms traces of Zeta Beam teleportation technology. In the meantime, he'll have to wrestle with the fact that although Earth constantly requires his volunteer hours, somewhere out there, a little girl is hoping to be rescued. When Alice becomes an only child, and with Lois's blessing, Superman soars up in the sky. Science Man tries to talk him out of it like a CW show. Manually parsing through Zeta Beam data will fry his empty-headed peanut brain, but the Man of Steel plugs himself into the Matrix anyway. He remembers developing intrusive thoughts for Lois. He remembers fighting Doomsday. He remembers almost quitting after he inspired a kid to go sidewalk diving thinking he could fly. But when a girl mentions Bode's galaxy, that's all he needs to hear. Admittedly, he would have lost his mind in there if it weren't for Alice. Superman's journey brings him to WWE Space Edition. As the fight drags on, each passing round begins to look more like a single-player game. The only other time I remember someone losing this badly was when Justin Trudeau resigned as our Prime Minister. Nonetheless, Alice is counting on him, and when the last son of Krypton starts to remove his training wheels, his opponent effectively soils his shorts and surrenders. An alien expends his life force to resuscitate a battered Superman to no avail. Without warning, memories from the Man of Steel flood his mind like an unskippable YouTube ad. The Boy Scouts' capacity for helping others, in conjunction with the dozens of times he saved the universe, only convinces the family man to try even harder. The memory thing goes both ways, and luckily, English is a universal language, otherwise this would be a very awkward conversation. Superman delivers a message from their late father. All can be lost, but none are alone. Injustice, Gods Among Us, a bullet to the head, choked out by General Zod, burned at the stake, UPS resorting to domestic terrorism rather than delivering packages, Billy hollering Shazam at the wrong time. I could go on, but these are only a fraction of the horrible thoughts living rent-free inside his head when Lois doesn't pick up a long-distance unknown number from across the galaxy. When she does pick up, it turns out deadlines got the better of her, and Smallville tries to play it off cool to not come across as an obsessive boyfriend. In a callback to DC Comics Presents issue number 10, Big Blue ends up knee-deep in the trenches of World War II with amnesia. Sergeant Rock implores him and the rest of Easy Company to ignore the bombs and bullets and to go a little farther, or they'll miss Sunday church. Luckily for them, Superman remembers who he is by remembering. The Boy Scout paves the way to Jesus and takes off to rescue Alice before the portal which brought him here closes. While we're on the nostalgia bandwagon, once upon a time, there was a charity race to determine the fastest man alive, excluding the cameraman, between Flash and Superman. The guy who runs for a living easily maintained his lead for 99% of the race. Unfortunately, he also missed all the QuickTime events along the way, so Superman takes the win. The donations funded a shelter for foster kids like Alice whose hope has yet to falter. Fancy space lightning divides the Man of Tomorrow into Soup, and Man. The Super Jerk starter pack turns all utilitarian because how can the life of one little girl matter more than 8 billion others? On the contrary, Man will do whatever it takes to ensure Alice is back in class by Monday morning, even at the cost of his life. In the end, they need each other more than they can care to admit, so they chart a course into space hoping to score a second date with fancy space lightning. When it is brought to his attention that even Rainbolt couldn't find Alice, desperate times call for desperate measures, which is why he makes a deal with the devil. The only caveat is that he'll have to kill for that information. Laid before him is someone who will suffer a great deal before he expires from an equally painful disease. That's where the knife comes in. You can be the judge of what happened, but either way, Darkseid wins. Now, about those coordinates. Imagine waking up to the incredible Lois Lane each morning, proudly slipping on a pair of underwear without thinking twice about why they're on the outside, visiting your stalker, rescuing cats from trees, which I'm convinced is fake news, dinner with effectively a nut job and a goddess, and returning to the women you ignored all day to share vessels, only to repeat the same routine at sunrise. Well, Superman's done all the above, but he can also imagine Alice going home, and for that reason, he's out. Earth is facing a catastrophe unlike any other, unless you've seen the Terminator movies. The evergreen faceless final boss reveals that his motivation for conquering the universe is simple. Because he's evil. He plucked a seemingly worthless girl who nobody cared about to study our weakness, but Superman counters with, "No sir, she is not." The Man of Steel puts on his plot armor and single-handedly shuts down Skynet and the robot apocalypse. At last, he can finally put a face to the name. Up, up, and away. Alice pesters him with a gazillion questions about the Justice League, but it's better than flying on airplane mode. Remember this guy? I would certainly hope so. It turns out that a pharmacy down the street, metaphorically speaking of course, had a cure for his sickness. Furthermore, he would probably let Batman win in a fight because the guy would go insane otherwise. The Boy Scout takes her along the scenic route, and a few galaxies later, they return to the warm embrace of Metropolis. So, why did Superman risk it all for someone he's never met? Because he's Superman. That was the story of Superman Up in the Sky by Tom King. Make of this what you will, I'm just a messenger.